Dr. Laffer, you are awesome, man. I tell you, he's and nimble on his feet as well. I cannot tell you that there's anyone that I respect anymore, that I think has any more intellectual depth and history and experience of dealing with the issues that so many of you in this audience find very important to our future as a state and as a country, is Dr. Art Laffer. My only criticism of him was when he chose to go to Nashville, Tennessee, instead of some luxurious, beautiful place, just as pretty and as music-friendly and government-centric and a river running through it place like Austin. So, but anyway, and he said one other thing: they don't have a personal income tax there. So, and as he shares with people all across this country, when you look at those states that do, in fact, have a or do not have a personal income tax, and the job creation and the environment in those states, it becomes abundantly clear, Brooke, that we have tied on to the issues that are important to this country and how we make America stronger, and those conservative views and ideas that for the last decade there have been people who have debated them in places like Texas, and I think the debate's over. From my perspective, the proof is in the pudding, and the details of which he lays out, and the juxtaposition between a state like Texas and California is abundantly clear now. The discussion's over, the debate's over, the proof is in. Texas wins. We're just past this amazing weekend. Think about Chaz, how many people a decade ago, just a short 10-year period ago, would have said the United States Grand Prix will be in Texas? How many people would have said that? Well, outside of Red McCombs, because I asked Red yesterday, I said, okay, Red, what are you going to do for an encore at 90? And trust me, the man's thinking about something. It's that type of vision, though, that does make, I think, states like Texas unique, in the sense of we do have men and women who know in their heart, Dick, they can risk their capital and have a chance to have a return on their investment. They know that the stability in the regulatory climate is going to be there over the long haul, that they're not going to change the rules in the middle of the game. Yesterday was, again, I think another one of those defining moments that says to the world, you realize there was upwards of 500 million people watching on television. That's the projection that I had been relayed to me. 500 million people watching that event, thinking that that is a place that I would like to visit or live in. That is a place that is dynamic, that is exciting, and they have weather like that every day of the year. God is good. So that's two Formula Ones, the inaugural and the second one. The weather is just magnificent. So it's a good thing they didn't have it in Chicago. That's our thoughts and prayers are with those individuals who go through these very trying times, and certainly we've had our times with hurricanes and floods and tornadoes, and so our hearts and prayers are with those folks in the Midwest as well. But it is those types of messages that get sent out in these states that do put red state policies, if you will, into place. Whether my friend over in Florida, who we are in a competition with every day, I promise you, Rick Scott gets up every day thinking about what do I need to do tax-wise, regulatory-wise, legal-wise, skilled workforce-wise to go compete against Louisiana or Texas or New Mexico or Arizona those red states that are making a difference in this country. When you look at, I think 9 of the 10 states in the United States that have led in job creation over the last years, 9 of them, of those 10, are headed by a Republican governor, a conservative governor, an individual who instinctively knows that it's about tax policy and regulatory policy. It's people who know and hold up the Laffer curve as truth, not theory. And that, I think, is, as I share with people across the country, they say, how have you been able to do that? And I say, we got a great team in Texas by and large. People who understand that if you'll put these principles into place, that the result is going to be people are not afraid to risk their capital. They're not afraid to hire individuals. And that is the story all too often that doesn't get told. Art and I were talking this morning that the great story about what's going on in these red states is that there are families. There are families today in Texas because of policies that were implemented in that Capitol building that are better able to take care of their families. Individuals who maybe 5 years ago didn't have a good job, might have had a minimum wage job, today are driving a truck in the Eagle Ford and making over $100,000 a year. And I joke and I tell folks that young Texan got their first paycheck, and they knew what the gross was, and they looked at it and went, wait a minute, who's this Mr. FICA? But it's, and that's a good educational process, frankly, for people to understand that there is a real cost. But in the state of Texas, you get to keep more. You get to keep more of your money. There is a reason that they are building a new performing arts facility in San Antonio, Texas, Dr. Jim. There is a reason that in Fort Worth they built a new museum of modern art. A symphony hall that is one of the finest in the world. A zoo that is as good as any in the country. That Dallas has built 2 performing arts facilities in the last 10 years. That the Nashers relocated their sculpture garden there, that the American Film Institute headquarters in Dallas now, that the Perot's finished a new facility of natural sciences there. That this city, this little government and university town, has built a museum of modern art. The Long Center of Performing Arts. The Topfers added on to the Zachary Scott Theater. And tonight in Houston, Texas, there are more theater seats available than any other city in America outside of New York City. It didn't happen by accident. It happened because policies that were put in place in this state. Policies that people instinctively know, Bill, allow people to keep more of what they work for. And in turn, the private sector made the decisions about where those charitable contributions would go to, and they went to the cultural arts. No longer, nobody downgrades Texas anymore about being a cultural backwater. Government, I suggest, would not have built one of those. But the private sector did. And today, as we reach out to companies that either want to relocate or to expand into this state, we use the cultural arts as one of the great tools to recruit into the state of Texas. That's the results of your policies. That's the result of what the Texas Public Policy Foundation has been about for the last decade plus. Sometimes I know, Brooke, you thought you were screaming into to the wind and that the gale force against you was powerful. But the fact is you stayed true to those principles and those policies. And Texas is a better place. And there are young men and women today who have the opportunity to attain things that a decade ago they did not think attainable. When you look at the number of Hispanic young Texans who are now going to an institution of higher learning. When you look at those 4th and 8th grade national assessment of educational progress scores, and they're second highest in America, then we get it. That it wasn't just talk. It wasn't just theory. It was practicality that truly delivered results that are as good as any place in America. That's the discussion this country needs to have. There are two competing visions in America. There is this red state vision, if you will, that basically says if you will leave the private sector with more of their money, i.e., have tax burden that is as light on them as it can be, a regulatory climate that's fair and predictable, a legal system that doesn't allow for oversuing, continue to fund accountable public schools. So, Bill, there is that skilled workforce. Then there is what I refer to as the blue state model. Government controlled, central decision making, nanny state, California, Illinois, New York. Which two visions will best serve the people of this country? Not whether you're a Democrat or Republican or whether you're red or blue, frankly, but what's the results? I'm proud of the results that we have put to place in Texas, put in place in this state, policies that allow that young Texan who a decade ago had a minimum wage job at best and today is talking with his wife about where their child is going to go to college, whether they're going to build on to the home because the future is bright. That's the discussion that this country will have. I think as we go forward, the answers are not going to come out of Washington, D.C. I happen to think the answers to the challenges that face this country will come out of state capitals, where governors, working with their legislature, are in competition between each other. That is the model for the future of America, and I think one that will serve this country well. Thank you, and God bless you.